Right now at 6, Joplin police respond to a rise in thefts and damages on air conditioning units.
And we've got some patchy fog out there again this morning, and then we could see maybe an isolated shower or storm. Take a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the sole provider of blood in the Ozarks calls their supply critically low.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It's Tuesday here in the 4 states, and we are coming up on the end of July, getting ready to head into August next week.
Dog days of summer.
Indeed, and it's going to start to feel that way. We've had a nice break from the heat. I know it's still been, pretty warm, almost hot in some cases, but it's been below normal the last several days. That trend is coming to an end.
Oh, it was too good to be true.
I know it. I don't try to bring you the bad news. I just have to tell you what's going to happen. You got to know what's going to go on, and as I've mentioned 100 times before, if I could control it, it'd be like San Diego. It'd be in the 70s year-round with the
little
monsoon
breeze,
season here and there just to offset that, but I don't control it.
Just letting us down.
Tell it to you, I'm sorry. I gave it my best. But we are still, at least today, going to be below average. It's still going to be pretty muggy. It's not going to feel below average out there. And we've got some fog this morning as well. Taking a look from our camera, it's downtown Joplin in the Cornell complex. We got a little bit of fog, and that's leading to a little bit of cloud cover that's kind of blocking the sunrise this morning. You can see the fog off in the distance there. Same from our camera at 7th and Rangeline. A little foggy in the distance, and it's just enough that's kind of blocking that sunrise this morning. MoDOT camera 32nd and Rangeline looks good, at least in the city. No overly dense fog, but the fog tracker is showing that we do have some reduced visibilities. Grove down just under 3 miles, but in that same zone, just over 3 miles visibility, and made it Stockton. So I-49, I-44, 69, 60. You just want to make sure you're slowing down. Use your low beams, not your high beams. Make sure you got time to get where you're going in case you run into some of that patchy, dense fog across the area this morning. Heading into the afternoon, we will be partly cloudy, and as you see, very brief opportunities, roughly between 3 and 7 for a very isolated pop-up shower or storm. The majority of us, as you can see on the future track, expected to remain dry. Will simply be muggy out there. We're sitting at 64 in Joplin, 64 in Pittsburgh. You see a little bit of that fog there on the KDOT camera near Kansas Crossing. Around the area, again, below normal temperatures. We're all still holding into the 60s, low, mid, and upper 60s. As we head into the afternoon, this is our last day of widespread below normal temperatures. We're going to go mid-upper 80s, partly cloudy, isolated shower or storm. But because of that, the pop-up storms need that humidity. They need those higher dew points to be able to get going. It's going to be a bit muggy out there today as well. We're going to get back to normal over the next few days and maybe even see the dangerous heat return. Breaking down details on that full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. The Community Blood Center of the Ozarks is positive the need for blood donations right now is critical. The CBCO is the sole provider of blood to hospital patients across the Ozarks, and it's in emergency need of all blood types. They have reported a historic low in donations and currently have less than 1 day supply available.
Being the sole supplier for 45 hospitals, we need to collect about 200 to 220 donations a day to ensure that we have an adequate supply for the hospital's inventory. So when we see numbers like this, historically low numbers, that really causes a strain on the hospitals to ensure that we've got the appropriate amount of blood on the shelves for those patients in those local hospitals.
Eligible donors are encouraged to give immediately. All donors in July will receive a plush Chillin' in the Ozarks beach towel while supplies last. To avoid wait times, appointments are strongly encouraged, and to schedule an appointment, you can go to cbco.org. Personal finance website Wallet Hub is out with its state-by-state rankings of the best school systems in the country, including Washington, D.C. The 4 states, however, are on the wrong side of the list. The highest rated of the 4 is Arkansas, coming in at 31. And then Kansas and Missouri are back-to-back at 37 and 38, respectively. Oklahoma is second to last, coming in at 50. The list was made using 32 metrics, including student performance, funding, safety, and class size. You can find the full list on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. KDOT Southeast Kansas is hosting a public meeting concerning the future of US 69 in Crawford County. KDOT says the focus of the meeting will be on the intersection of US 69 and K103 in Cherokee County. The meeting is a follow-up to a study conducted by the department. 2 meetings take place today. The first one at the Pittsburgh Auditorium from 11 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. The latter meeting takes place from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Pittsburgh High School. Joplin police warned the public of a rise in air conditioner vandalism. Thieves are vandalizing air conditioning units to steal copper metal and get money for it. The Joplin Paint Center is a victim of the vandalism and says replacement costs them a lot of money. The Joplin Police Department is urging the public to conceal their AC units or install an alarm system.
The copper metal that unfortunately thieves see that as an easy target to go in and damage those, cut piping, can remove it and then take it in and turn it in for scrap.
Captain Davis says it's important to report any suspicious activity to the Joplin Police Department. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. The Biden administration wants the U.S. Supreme Court to allow enforcement of new anti-discrimination rules in schools. Plus, Vice President Kamala Harris hits the campaign trail for the first time as a 2024 presidential candidate. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Tuesday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. But first, here's a live look from the Labette County Fairgrounds in Oswego, Kansas. Topping Nation Watch this morning. Multiple western states are currently under an air quality alert due to wildfires like this one. The National Interagency Fire Center says about 70 wildfires are burning across the country right now. They say as of now, those wildfires have burned over 1 million acres. 9 states are currently reporting large active wildfires, with 20 in Oregon and 12 in California. Evacuation orders have been put in place in those areas. Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming are all currently under air quality alerts. We'll be extra cautious on the World Wide Web. Government officials say hackers are taking advantage of the major tech outage that's been causing grief worldwide. They say cyber criminals are promoting fake websites that have malicious software, including some with keywords like CrowdStrike. That's the name of the cybersecurity firm that recently had a glitch that caused the tech crisis. The hackers hope to lure victims by promising to repair outages or by offering to sell them fake cryptocurrency. According to security experts, these cyber criminals are using these websites in an attempt to collect personal data and breach user devices. Right now, there's no automated fix for the CrowdStrike problem, and some experts say it could take a while before it's resolved. The Biden administration wants the U.S. Supreme Court to allow enforcement of new anti-discrimination rules in schools across the nation. The Department of Education made changes to some of the rules under Title IX, the longtime law that prevents sex discrimination within the educational system. These adjustments, which include civil rights protections for LGBTQ+ students, were supposed to start nationwide in August. However, some Republican attorney generals took legal action against the White House, blocking those protections. All of the new Title IX rules were blocked in 10 states by a pair of federal judges. The administration is arguing to the high court that the lower courts erred in when they blocked enforcement. Schools that receive federal aid are required to comply with Title IX rules. Well, today, Vice President Kamala Harris hits the campaign trail for the first time as a 2024 presidential candidate, visiting Wisconsin as support for her White House bid reaches new heights. Yesterday, President Biden, in his first public comments since dropping out of the race, urged his former campaign staff to embrace her. Meanwhile, the Trump-Vance campaign is sharpening its line of attack against a new likely opponent. Jared Hill has the latest from New York.
This morning, a critical sign of support for Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. CBS News estimates a majority of Democratic delegates across more than half of U.S. states have endorsed her, enough to potentially win her party's virtual vote next month, ahead of the Democratic convention.
We have an election to win.
Monday, Harris stopped by campaign headquarters in Delaware just a day after President Biden pulled out of the race. The president rallied the team over the phone.
The name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all.
That mission beat former President Donald Trump.
I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
The Trump-Vance campaign has come out swinging, saying Harris is worse than Biden and slamming the Democrat selection process.
Democrats are the ones who want to throw out 14 million ballots and not elect Kamala Harris, but select Kamala Harris with a bunch of billionaires.
But a new CBS News poll shows most Democratic voters already want Harris as the nominee.
Under the circumstances, she would be my top pick.
I would love to see the first woman black president.
The Harris campaign says it's raised tens of millions of dollars since she announced her intention to win the nomination. Jared Hill, CBS News.
President Biden is due back in Washington later today after recovering from COVID-19 at his Delaware home. Vice President Kamala continues to pick up high-profile endorsements from fellow Democrats, with the latest from former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're seeing temperatures continue to warm across the area. Not this morning, though. Still below average out there as we're in the 60s. The Skywatch storm tracker is clear. Nothing on it. We could see a pop-up shower storm later today. And we also have to contend with some patchy fog, which you can see off in the horizon from our camera at 7th and Rangeline. We'll have another full look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
A woman from Iowa made an unusual discovery last month while driving with her husband. She spotted a wedding dress lying on the side of the road in Greene County in the central part of the state. She's now trying to track down the owner. Ophelia Jacobson has more.
June 12th was the day that we found it on the side of the road.
Just north of Rippey on Highway 144.
All this fluff was just fluffing around in the wind.
Something in the grass caught Denise Gannon's eye.
We had to go get parts one day into Perry, and we drove on 144 diagonal, and here was this on the side of the road.
A wedding dress in a ditch, now hanging on her clothesline.
It's an Alfred Angelo is the style, and it's a size 18W. It is a very pretty dress.
For the past month, Gannon has been trying to reunite the dress with the bride.
Really thought that if I put it on Facebook, somebody would notice it and want it, but nothing.
The dress was found next to this Bliss bridal dress bag, so Gannon called the Mason City shop.
They don't sell that brand, so they don't think they didn't sell the dress.
How the dress ended up in a ditch is a mystery. Gannon says everybody has a theory.
I just don't know if somebody was hauling or moving and it blew out of their vehicle.
Some people think the bride changed her mind.
I think the dress has already been worn, so I don't think she changed her mind.
Others believe it has something to do with the Greenfield tornado, but Gannon says those dates don't add up.
It had not been there. I do not believe it has anything to do with Greenfield.
Gannon says if she can't find the owner in the next couple of weeks, she'll donate it. But remembering her time as a bride 45 years ago, she feels the person who owns this dress
hopefully somebody will just find it and say, hey, that's my dress.
Would love nothing more than to find it.
Again, Gannon is hoping someone will come forward and claim the dress. Now here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
Yeah, we got some patchy fog out there this morning. Still a bit on the cool side, but warmer temperatures on the way. We're going to break down the full forecast when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 621 now on this Tuesday morning. We're starting with a live look from MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line looking to the south, and you can see there's a little bit of fog out there. However, the fog has thickened on I-44 east of town, which we'll take a look at the fog tracker in just a moment. And we've got some light fog here on the KDOT camera, 69 at Kansas Crossing there, looking back roughly to the north. So here's a look at the fog tracker, and here's what we're talking about. Take a look, Grove, Mount Vernon, both much more significantly reduced visibility. So this is going to be I-44 and 60 as you head into the eastern half of Jasper, Newton, and Lawrence and northern Berry counties out there. Be aware that the fog has thickened up considerably. Just took a look at the MoDOT camera out there at I-44 and the 96 exit if you're coming back this way from Springfield, and that visibility is significantly reduced. So again, remember, use your low beams, not your high beams. Take it slow, give yourself time to get where you're going, and just watch out for that dense fog out there this morning. As we look onto the future track heading into the afternoon, we have an opportunity for an isolated pop-up shower or storm between say 3 and 7 roughly. But as you can also see on the future track, whatever we see is going to be extraordinarily isolated. The majority of us will remain dry. Then we go into our Wednesday, temperatures hotter, getting close to average, but definitely hotter than what we're used to. And then a repeat, roughly the same time span too, from 3 to 7, an opportunity for an isolated pop-up shower or storm. As we go into our Thursday, temperatures still at average, maybe a little above. However, we're going to see that same opportunity in almost that same window from 3 to 7 for an isolated pop-up shower or thunderstorm out there. Our camera 7 to range line, a little bit of fog out there, enough cloud cover though, it's blocking the sunrise. 64 visibility in Joplin at the airport is at 7 miles. We're still below average this morning, the region in the 60s, low, mid, upper 60s as we get this Tuesday underway, but this is the last below average day we're going to have for a while. Sunny skies to start, a little warmer too, about 80 by 11 o'clock this morning, and then we'll start to see a few extra clouds here and there, going partly cloudy this afternoon, and then again a very low chance of an isolated pop-up storm or two. But with those pop-up storm chances over the next several days, it also means humidity levels, dew point levels are going to be a little higher. So like yesterday, it's going to be somewhat muggy out there. So even though we're only mid to upper 80s, it's still going to feel uncomfortable. Skies clear after the opportunity for showers and thunderstorms comes to a close at 7, and we'll fall back into the upper 60s. Then over the next several days, temperatures get downright toasty. Now initially you see we're just average. It's still hot, but average. As we go to low 90s, pop-up storm chances through Saturday. Once we get past that and into next week, dangerous heat looks to return again. We go mid-upper 90s and into the triple digits by the middle of next week. So something to definitely keep in mind over the next few days as temperatures heat up. That is a check of your forecast, and this is Elise with a check of Health Watch.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, boys are more likely to develop type 1 diabetes than girls, according to a new study published in the UK. The study found that up until age 10, the risk is the same, but it markedly decreases for girls at that point. The study authors say the link between autoantibody development and type 1 diabetes should be looked at. Autoantibodies are immune proteins that attack a person's own tissues or organs. During this study, autoantibodies were discovered to be more common in boys. A tracker tool developed by Mass General Brigham to help predict risk of dementia and stroke found that it can also predict late life depression. The tool, known as the Brain Care Score, has been used to help patients determine how lifestyle changes could help minimize the risk of certain brain-related illnesses. The tool looks at both physical and social emotional factors. An overwhelming demand for GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic, which were originally meant to treat diabetes but are now also used for weight loss, could contribute to drug shortages and worsen racial and ethnic disparities in drug access. That's according to a study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. The data showed that a majority of new users were non-Hispanic white women, and that demand for semaglutide-based treatments like Ozempic went from 33% of GLP-1 drugs in 2019 to 88% in 2023. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, local first responders give residents a reminder about pedestrian safety tips.
And we've got some patchy fog to deal with this morning out there, and then it's going to warm up a bit maybe a shower or two. We'll look at the details in the forecast to get you out the door coming up.
Plus, we take a look back on the Joplin Park Ranger program 1 year later.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6:28. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is Tuesday, and we are in the last full week of July.
Yes, we are.
I
know, it really is.
There we go. It's almost August now. I remember, and I'm sure you do, because you're younger than I am, so these memories are probably a lot fresher for you. The dread of going to Walmart and seeing those back to school signs and like, here's all the school supplies right as you walk in the store and you're like, oh, come on. Like, it's not even yet. And
no, I'm right
like
there
Christmas.
with you.
It starts earlier every year.
But like the worst kind of Christmas.
It is. The worst Christmas is when you walk in as a kid and you're like, oh no, really? Is it almost that time? Hey, but school's not that bad, kids. Really, it's not. That's how you get to do all these exciting things in your life. So go to school. It's important. Even though it can be a drag sometimes, it's important.
Yes.
And the weather sometimes can be a drag as well. And unfortunately, it's going to be the case as we head down the road. And we'll talk about that in detail in just a moment. Here's a live look from 7th and Rangeline. Our camera there, and you can see we've got just enough cloud cover from that fog that it's kind of blocking the sunrise out there. But we'll eventually see this fog burn off in the next, say, hour and a half. Also, you can see some of that patchy fog from the MoDOT camera 32nd and Rangeline, and the better view on the fog tracker just showing Grove and Mount Vernon, much more significantly reduced visibilities. Again, we took a look at the MoDOT camera on I-44 at the 96 exit if you're heading back to the west, and it is very foggy out there. So remember, low beams, not your high beams. Give yourself time to get where you're going. Slow down if you run into that dense fog. On the future track by this afternoon and evening, an isolated pop-up shower or thunderstorm possible. The majority of us will remain dry and a bit on the muggy side. Not bad so far this morning, though. 64 in Joplin, 63 in Pittsburgh. You can also see some of that fog on the KDOT camera there. Temperatures this morning below normal still, but this is really the last below normal day we're going to have for a while. Low, mid, and upper 60s. As we head into the afternoon, it's going to be muggy, so it's not going to feel like the mid 80s out there. It's going to feel a little warmer as we go mid upper 80s for our highs, still below average by just a wee bit, but that's going to change over the next several days, and we'll break down the details in the full forecast a little later. Elise?
Thanks, Chris. Well, it only takes a split second for something to go wrong while crossing the street. In order to minimize the risk, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office wants to share some safety tips for pedestrians of all ages, but especially for children. They say stay alert and don't focus on electronic devices. Make eye contact with drivers if entering traffic and use a crosswalk when possible to cross the street.
It's important, young kids and kids are going to be riding their bikes and walking to school, that they're educated on where to cross and that they're crossing at the appropriate crossings like the crosswalk or where there's a crossing guard or a stoplight with a crosswalk.
We have even more safety tips for pedestrians on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, Pittsburgh State University's Nature Reach had an exhibit at the May Leslie Community Center in Chautauqua yesterday. Kids of all ages were welcome to come learn about several different animal adaptations. Animals that were on display and utilized in the program ranged from snakes and salamanders to Madagascar hissing cockroaches.
Part of Nature Reach is to provide programming for the local communities, for public schools and public libraries, and we also will do private homeschooling groups as well.
The free event aimed to inform children about the different animals they may already be familiar with, many of which can be found in the wild in their native state of Kansas. It's been more than 1 year since the city of Joplin created its Park Ranger program. But does the community know what the job does? KOAM's Samantha Walker sat down with a park ranger to learn more about what they do and the problems they address.
Just the fact that I could be outside, roaming around, socializing with people.
If you visited a public park in Joplin in the past year, you might have noticed someone new. Ethan Yates is a city park ranger, a role that makes him a frequent presence at more than 20 parks in Joplin.
I love taking my kids to the park, so I just saw an opportunity where I could make things a lot better so everyone could enjoy the parks as much as I do.
According to the Director of Parks and Recreation, the Park Ranger program was created after community members brought up concerns about safety. The presence of park rangers is intended to help make people feel more safe at parks.
They patrol all of our parks, make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary that's going on. They help with preventative measures when it comes to maintenance. They might see something before our Parks Division does, so they report those.
According to city officials, the effects of the park ranger role can already be seen.
We get compliments all the time. People are saying when they see them in the parks, they feel safer in our parks. They notice that, when things are vandalized or broken, they notice that our park division is able to get to them sooner because our park rangers actually point those out and report those kind of things, so we can be faster in getting those things fixed.
According to city officials, park rangers can act as an alternative to the police department. They say this is an important role because police can often be overwhelmed.
I think the police department is very thankful for this program. It allows them to focus on other areas other than just having to patrol our parks. I mean, they have such a responsibility in the city of Joplin and our community. The park rangers help them so they can do other things.
For rangers like Yates, it's a great feeling to help the parks improve for the people who use them.
Things are definitely getting better. And once people realize how nice and neat they are, they're going to continue to want to keep them that way.
And while the role may be relatively new, it's one he hopes to keep for a very long time.
I'm going to retire from this. I figure if I do, maybe they'll give me an official park ranger bench in one of the parks, throw my name on it.
Reporting in Joplin, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
The Director of Parks and Recreation says he hopes to see the program continue to grow for years to come. If you have a problem or concern about a city park, you can submit a comment on the City of Joplin's website. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. The countdown to the holiday season has already begun, and so has the battle to be this year's hot toy. And we have a warm and partly cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. But first, here's a live look from the Labette County Fairgrounds in Oswego, Kansas. Consumer Watch this morning. For toy makers, the countdown to the holiday season has already begun, and so has the battle to be this year's hot toy. Bradley Blackburn got an inside look at this year's trends and what might be on the top of the wish list.
Go! In the race to be this year's top toy, Lori Schacht knows how to pick a winner. Lori, you're the pro! She's tracked toy trends for decades at the Toy Insider and brings top toy makers together for the annual Sweet Sweet event in New York.
We know that parents love to share things with their children that they had when they were children.
That means old 90s favorites are back, like the Ninja Turtles. But it's today's kid influencers like Kira and Cam from Missouri who have the real superpower to shape trends.
Kira! Ooh! What's this? I've got to get this open!
Their videos reviewing toys can get millions of views.
It's July. You're already making your Christmas list?
I know! I want that shaking thing where you say,
Shaking things up this year, there's plenty of new.
What do you want to do, Peanut?
Peanut the playful monkey blinks, walks, and swings with more than 100 interactions. Don't worry, there's still an off switch.
There's the off switch.
There's the off switch right on the foot.
And meet Poe.
This is our AI storytelling bear.
Kids tap prompts in an app, then OpenAI creates a custom story.
Joining her was Prince Leo. Who did it make you think of?
Teddy Ruxpin.
Right, but this is a whole different generation. It's a story created from the kids' own ideas, what they've chosen.
It's not just toys. Craft kits are a huge category right now. Kids love them, and so do parents.
Spin it!
A new spin on old classics. Toys ready to bring joy to the next generation. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Well, Delta Airlines is still struggling in the aftermath of last week's global software outage. More than 1,000 flights were canceled yesterday, according to FlightAware. More cancellations are likely later in the week as well. The crisis has drawn scrutiny from the Department of Transportation, and Delta says it's taking several steps to help impacted customers, including extended travel waivers and coverage of eligible expenses like meals or hotel accommodations. Google is backtracking on its pledge to remove cookies, the small digital files used to track user activity online. Instead, the tech company says it'll take a new approach that will allow people to make an informed choice as they surf the web. Google says it received feedback from advertisers before changing course. And McDonald's is reportedly extending its $5 meal deal into August at some U.S. restaurants, according to Bloomberg. The deal was originally slated to last 4 weeks after its late June launch, though some locations want to see it continue. As we get closer to August, the start of school year is getting closer, and already many families have started back to school shopping. Parents should be prepared to spend a lot this year. Jen Sullivan looks at how much families are spending and ways to score some deals.
The start of the new school year is just around the corner, and that means it's time to start thinking about back-to-school shopping.
We're expecting consumers shopping for back to school and back to college to spend at near record amounts.
Parents are preparing to spend big on supplies this year. The National Retail Federation estimates families with children in elementary through high school plan to spend an average of $874.68 on school supplies, clothes, electronics, based on their annual survey. While that's $15 less than last year's record of $890.07, it's still the second highest amount in the survey's history. Nationally, the group expects U.S. families will spend close to $39 billion on back-to-school shopping.
The top reason people say that they start early is to spread out their budget.
Parents are budgeting on average about $310 for electronics, $254 on clothing and accessories, $142 for school supplies, and $171 for shoes. College students are bracing to spend even more, with the average student expecting to shell out $1,364.75 on items for the upcoming school year.
We know that things like electronics are a much bigger portion of back to school and college spending than they used to be.
So, what are some ways families can save?
We know that discount stores have certainly carried a larger variety of school supplies, and as consumers are looking for value these days, that is another top destination for them.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're starting with this. It's a live look from our camera on the Cornell Complex downtown Joplin. Got some patchy fog out there and just enough that it's kind of blocking the sunrise, but the sun is coming up. Another view from our camera at 7th and Range Line. There's that fog off in the distance, and we'll head a little further south to 32nd and Range Line. Again, at least in the city, the fog not too terribly dense at this point, but we do have some dense fog out there. So if you're commuting this morning, look at Mount Vernon now, below a mile of visibility. This is impacting a big portion of I-44 and US 60 as you're heading east towards Springfield in parts of Berry and Lawrence counties and the eastern edges of Jasper and Newton counties, and then down to Grove. Just over a mile visibility, so 69 heading south. You need to make sure that you're just aware of the reduced visibilities and watch out for those dense patches of fog as well. Use your low beams, not your high beams. You know the drill, but we remind you just to make sure you're safe out there and slow down if you run into that dense fog. On the future track, other than an isolated pop-up shower or storm, and I mean isolated pop-up shower or storm, there's really not much to show heading into the afternoon. Temperatures a little warmer today. We're on that gradual warming trend to get back to normal. Unfortunately, we're going to get well above normal over the next several days as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. 64 in Joplin, 63 in Pittsburgh and around the area. Again, another below normal start. Average low is about 70. We've got low, mid, upper 60s. The further south you go, of course, it starts to get a little bit warmer out there. Again, our highs today still below average, but dew point humidity levels are creeping up as well, making it feel a little hotter. And then it's going to get really hot heading into next week. We'll break down the details in the full forecast in just a moment. We're also going to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this break. But first, you know what time it is. It's time to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Succession star and award-winning actor Matthew McFadden. We'll talk about working with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman on Deadpool and Wolverine. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for those Tuesday birthdays here in the 4 states, and we are starting in Girard with Bree Beasley celebrating birthday number 4. Happy birthday.
And over in Columbus, a happy 6th birthday to Olivia Diane.
And we've got Cressley Harmon celebrating birthday number 10. Says happy 10th birthday, love mommy, daddy, Bentley, Nana, and Pop.
And over in Pittsburgh, a happy 11th birthday to Isaiah Adam.
And then the twins, James and Elizabeth Shoulders, celebrating birthday number 18. Happy birthday.
And happy 72nd birthday to Jim Ganaway over in Crestline.
And in Jasper, Carlisle Flanagan celebrating birthday number 83. Happy birthday.
And happy birthday to Florence Kimry over in Pittsburgh, celebrating birthday number 98.
And our list continues with Stanley Robinson celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday.
Happy to John Wren in Pittsburgh.
And in Columbus, Mike Evans celebrating another year wiser. Very happy birthday to everybody on our list. And if you would like to celebrate with us, Elise knows what you need to do.
Absolutely. Go ahead and submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com. When you're submitting your celebration, be sure to include the day as well, just to ensure we're celebrating you on the right day.
Absolutely. And it is a bit of a foggy day out there, a little bit on the cool side as well. This is our camera on top of the Cornell Complex downtown Joplin. We got just enough fog generating just enough low-level cloudiness that there's the sun. Not getting a lot of light out of it just yet, but this fog will begin to burn off over the next, say, hour and a half out there. Our camera 7th and range line also showing another view of that fog. Sun trying to get through a little better from this perspective here. And as we head south to 32nd and range line, still some light patchy fog off in the distance here. So in the city again, it hasn't been too bad. And you can see some light fog around the Pittsburgh area from the KDOT camera 69 and Kansas Crossing up there. Again, just some light fog, but we do have some areas of very dense fog. Mount Vernon, Grove, two of the great examples here. So this covers a good portion of Berry and Lawrence counties, eastern part of Jasper and Newton County. So I-44, US 60 out there, and then 69 heading south into Delaware County toward Grove also. And still reduced visibilities Anderson, Pittsburgh down to 4 miles. So just make sure you're slowing down, giving yourself time to get where you're going this morning. And of course, use your low beams, not your high beams. It's never a good thing to put those high beams on in the fog. Doesn't help you, and it only makes things worse for other drivers. On the future track, not much to show again other than this. Isolated, and we're talking isolated pop-up shower and thunderstorm chances, say between about 3 and 7 this evening. But as you can see, 98% of us remaining dry out there. Then we're going to see this same pattern repeat over the next several days in almost the exact same time frame as well. So we go into Wednesday, things a little warmer, and then once again, roughly between 3 and 7, another round of very isolated pop-up showers and thunderstorms out there. And we clear out again. We'll go into our Thursday. Temperatures getting a little hotter by Thursday as well. And then we'll see another round, again, almost in the exact same window of time of isolated pop-up showers and thunderstorms out there. But again, over the next several days, the majority of us expected to remain dry and muggy as temperatures continue to rise. 64 in Joplin as the sun begins to rise. Visibility at the airport is at 7 miles. North-northwest breeze at about 5. Around the region, again, a below normal start out there. Pretty cool up north. We got low 60s. Head a little further south in the mid-region, you get mid-60s. A little further south of that, get into the upper 60s. Average low this time of year, about 70. As we head through the morning, we're going to have sunny skies out there. A little bit warmer, as I mentioned. We're going to go about 80 degrees by 11 o'clock this morning. And that is ahead of highs, again, roughly mid-upper 80s out there. But the humidity and dew point level is going to make it feel a little closer to 90, maybe a wee bit above that. Unfortunately, the dangerous heat looks to make a return to our forecast. We're going to look at the extended forecast here in just a moment, as well as the news you need to know. And if you stick with us at 7 a.m. on Fox 14, I'm going to tell you about a senior citizen in Chicago that went back in time for a night of dancing by recreating their high school prom.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Joplin police warned the public of a rise in air conditioner vandalism. Thieves are stealing the copper metal found in the units and selling them for money. The Joplin Police Department is urging the public to conceal their AC units or install an alarm system. KDOT Southeast Kansas will host several public meetings concerning the future of US 69 in Crawford County. KDOT says the focus of the meetings will be on the intersection of US 69 and K103 in Cherokee County. The meeting is a follow-up to a study conducted by the department. Well, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks says the need for blood of all types has reached critical levels. Eligible donors are encouraged to give immediately, and to avoid wait times, appointments are strongly encouraged. To schedule an appointment, you can go to cbco.org. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And a reminder, we've got some dense fog out there. I-44, portions of 49, US 60, US 69. Make sure you're slowing down, giving yourself time to get where you're going. That'll start to burn off again in the next hour or so. And we'll see partly cloudy skies into the afternoon and an isolated pop-up shower storm possible. A little warmer, mid-upper 80s, heat index values around the low 90s. Skies will clear later this evening. We'll go mostly clear overnight and fall back into the upper 60s. And this is what we're talking about. We're going to have average temperatures and pop-up storm chances through Saturday as we go into the low 90s. Then as we head into next week, dangerous heat looks to make a return as we go upper 90s, even some lower 100s out there in the second half of next week. So just keep that in mind over the next few days and enjoy some of the below average temperatures while you can.
Absolutely. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making State Fair cream puffs in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Coming up next, the Democratic Party is rallying around Kamala Harris as its likely presidential nominee. Get a closer look at the record amount of cash her campaign is pulling in.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, a therapy program in Virginia aims to help inmates recover from addiction.
And Charlene Patton joining us in the studio to teach us how to make silky lemon tofu pudding. However, it's going to wrap it up for us for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.